how should I be saving for retirement? Like, you don't have to go into specifics because we all know financial planning depends on the situation and the person, but like, what options are there?
That's a really broad question.
Yeah. I know it's really broad.
So again, it's kind of a situational,
Is it too broad?
Well, no, not really. I mean, it is situation dependent in the sense that it depends on, your age, your goals, your time horizon, how long do you have to save, right? I mean, if you're 50 years old and you've not saved a dime, then the strategy for you to try to pull something together is going to look totally different than a 20-year-old that's looking to get started, right? Yeah. But I think overall basic principles are start saving sooner than later. If you can, I would say try to create a mix of pre-tax as well as post or after tax or even tax-free savings. And what I mean by that is most people are going to force feed and overfund their IRAs, their 401ks, which is not a bad thing. Okay. Because your 401k, there's tremendous opportunity there just because of how much you can put into the plan. And in many cases, there's an employer matching what you're putting in. And so those are free retirement dollars, right? Obviously there's a price on the back end in taxation when you pull it out.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by diversify, right? So start early and diversify your tax buckets. Because what we see most of the time is most people have no true bank savings, no true Roth account savings, those being after tax and tax-free dollars. And so they have no tax flexibility later down the road. So, in terms of just broadly speaking, save early, diversify your tax buckets in terms of how you save, right? And so then the question people will ask is, well, what percentage should I put in each? And to which I would say, just keep in mind, as with almost anything in life, balance and moderation is key.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no doubt that tax deferred savings is going to grow faster. Okay. But there is always a price to pay at the back end. And so, if you believe what I believe about where taxes could likely be, later down the road because of the fiscal irresponsibility of the federal government and otherwise, then it would behoove you to create buckets of money that you can access without tax penalty. Okay. Or tax implication, if you will. So, the other thing I would say is, try to be a good steward of what you're doing in terms of savings. And, obviously that's a spiritual biblical term just because of my belief set. But all I really mean by stewardship is, you can't walk blindly towards retirement and expect it to play out. To not have a plan is really a plan to fail.
Yeah.
Okay. Or we would say it, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay. Because if you have kind of in your mind what the goal of your retirement is, the age, the amount you'd like to be able to spend, those kind of things, those are things we can back into to the present to try to determine, right? So you're planning, and then you're staying on top of that as a good steward year to year to year to year. Obviously I recommend that you have a professional, right? That you're working with that can help you kind of, navigate all the different areas. Social Security, taxes, how much am I saving? Is it enough? Should I retire at this age or work longer? Those kind of things. And then lastly, live in such a way where, you're not like most people that just try to keep up with the Joneses, right? Try to live a frugal lifestyle. Don't get into revolving debt, those types of things. Now I am way off and different from the Dave Ramseys of the world. No offense to Dave. He does a lot of good work. But I'm not a believer in, never have debt, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think there can be good debt and bad debt for sure. Right. And I would say credit card wise, unless you're disciplined and using them for a specific purpose, it's better just to stay away from them. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of the benefits that you get through points and things like that versus if something went sideways, what you'd be stuck with, it may not be worth the risk, but it just depends on how much of a good steward you are in staying on top of your finances and doing things properly. So, live frugally. Okay. People always will ask me, well, should I take part of my retirement assets and pay off my house so I don't have this debt? I don't have a mortgage, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the time, no, right? I mean, again, the time to try to accomplish those things is before you get ready to retire.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're a young professional, for example, and you buy a house in, I don't know, your late 20s, early 30s, by the time you retire, that house would get paid off. But what most people do is, as they get older and older and they're making more money and more money, they want a bigger house. They want a fancier car. Yeah. They want this. And all I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with those things unless they're not
viable.
Unless they're not on track with the rest of your financial goals, right? If you want to be debt free when you retire, which is an excellent place to be just purely from a stress level, if nothing else, you don't go buy a house you can't afford 10 years before you retire.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's likely not going to turn out well.
Yeah. You're either going to have to keep in the workforce.
Yeah. So, because most people, while they're working, the assumption is you can pay your bills, right? You got your cash flow covered. But once you retire and you don't have that steady paycheck coming in anymore, but your expenses are essentially about the same, that's where people begin to freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe a side view of that would be, and I say this to clients and always look at you like a calf staring at a new gate, right? Start living 2 to 3 years before your retirement goal. Start living as if you're retired. Meaning don't wait, because that's a stressful transition. Meaning the first year or two of retirement is, it stresses people out because they're not used to not having the paycheck, right? So the way I tell them is begin to structure your expenses and how you're going to live, right, within reason, so that it looks like what you believe retirement will look like. And when you do pull the trigger, it won't be anywhere near as stressful. So those are just some basic ideas.